Hi, this is Pat with PMA Tool. Today we're going to talk about the PMA Tool ball bearing drive priming tool. Our priming tool is a little bit different than a lot of them out there. It is a single stage, single feed priming tool. We do intend, it was designed to be used and set up to seat primers by feel, though as I'll describe a little bit later, they can certainly set them up to seat primers at a specific height for those of you that are into that. Anyways, here we have our handle. As it comes to you, it will not be disassembled, but we'll show what we're doing here. The handle with the link, and that link is going to make contact with our ball bearing, and that's going to be held securely, and our punch housing goes on top of there like that. Now the ball bearing is there to keep things nice and smooth, and it also prevents all the wear that can happen between that link and that actual punch assembly. So bear with me a second, it just takes a second to put her back together. Our punches, as we kind of alluded to earlier, are a little different. They do have a cup part that holds the primer, followed by the main punch, which actually seats the primer, and it has a return spring there as well. And what that does is that keeps the primer nice and square held inside that cup. And that initial cup is what will force that case forward, catching it and keeping it square inside that shell holder, so we can have a nice, smooth, straight transition into the primer pocket being seated. As received from us, as I mentioned, you will have the small primer pocket punch assembly will be, the small primer punch assembly will be installed along with that return spring. Shell holders, the priming tool does accept press type shell holders, though we do recommend Redding, and we do recommend you purchase that Redding shell holder from us. While Redding is about as uniform as they get, there still is a little bit of taper that is occasionally in there, or burrs, and on about 30% of the shell holders that we get through here, we actually need to correct that with a reamer, and we do take care of that. So every shell holder that comes from us will have already been gauged and or reamed. So to set this tool up for feel, I take the head and install that all the way down until the cup portion of that punch assembly is just flush with that surface inside the shell holder. That it allows you to easily get a piece of brass in there, in and out quickly and easily. You'll notice also our shell holder is not held tightly. There is a reason for that. That does allow everything to kind of self-center, not that that's too big of a deal on the punch, but it also allows you to position that in anywhere you want to, for lefties, righties, any of that. As I said, I'm setting this tool up for feel. So let's see the primer. You drop a primer into the primer cup there, slide your case in, and close the handle, and you'll feel, with our tool, you will feel every thousandth of an inch as you're seating that down to the bottom of that primer pocket. And that when it hits, you'll feel it almost like a brick wall that'll just stop. Some primers, I've noticed, at least with a 205M, is a primer that I use quite frequently. The anvils on those primers kind of sit a little bit proud of the cup on the Federals, it seems. So you do feel that brick wall feel, and then you feel a little sponge at the end, and then another seat as that cup actually seats in the bottom of the primer pocket. So if you'll notice, when I'm seating them by feel, I'm not using that full travel of the handle. This is where I like them to end up. That's at the kind of the end of the power band of that stroke, and I can really feel it bottoming out. Now, I do prefer personally to seat them by feel. It is really the bench rest way, and I do that for every primer that I seat, whether it's for, you know, a varmint rifle or a plinking rifle or a bench rest rifle, F-class, and everything in between. That's just my personal preference. That's what works best for me. If you are a gentleman or lady that likes to set them to a specific depth, what you'll do is you'll start with that same flush start with that cup in the bottom of the shell holder there, and you're going to back that off a little bit more than a full rotation, or a little bit more than a half rotation rather. So about 3/4 of the way around, backing that off. And that's going to let you kind of dial it in from there. Obviously you can see I've got it all the way to the stop here. Actually, not quite, so I'm going to back it off just a little bit. Our tool has marks around the circumference. Every mark is worth about 2/1000ths of an inch. It's actually just a little bit less, but we call it 2/1000ths. And that is going to let you check with your gauges for how deep you've got that primer, and then make an adjustment off of that. It's 2/1000ths per mark, but there's lots of room between the marks. So if you need a 1/2,000th, 1/1000th, 3/4 of a thousandth, you can dial that in with this tool. Well, that's been the intro to the PMA ball bearing drive priming tool. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to give us a call, 260-246-5860, or you can email us at support@pmatool.com. Thanks for tuning in again. Thanks for watching. Good shooting.